Welcome to Real Estate Exposed, helping people in San Diego buy, sell, and refinance their biggest investment, delivering you timely truths, exposing important issues, and helping you get into the right home. Here are your hosts, real estate expert Daniel Beer, top-ranked professional by sales volume at one of San Diego's largest brokerages, and his mortgage partner, Todd Pianin, with over $2 billion in funded loans.
Yo, what's happening? We are here, and that is the first time I've ever opened the show with the word yo. But in any case, you're listening to Real Estate Exposed here at News Radio 600 KOGO. Daniel Beer and Todd Pianin, and we're going to jump into the nuts and bolts of what's happening in our local market, our local, just the environment around San Diego as it relates to things beyond real estate, but that affect our economy in a big, big way, starting with the Chargers and the mayor backing it.
Yo, Dan. It's Sunday football, and the mayor has come out, and he's got some concessions from the Spanos family that he is actually endorsing the bill that will increase the hotel tax that will get us our stadium that we've been asking for, which, you said will completely change the environment of the East Village area if that's where it goes, right?
So Todd Pianin here, Home Street Bank, our co-host on Real Estate Exposed. And Todd, how are you feeling the general sentiment amongst just people you interact with? Are you feeling like San Diego is for or still not quite on board this stadium initiative?
I think they're for, but they're not on board with the Chargers right now because the Chargers can't seem to win a fourth quarter. I read the other day, Dan, I don't know because we're both in fantasy leagues. I read the other day on some fantasy report that there's an 80% chance that the Chargers will actually win in a fourth quarter sometime this season. Sometime this season, there's an 80% chance that they'll actually win in the fourth quarter.
They're actually the second highest scoring team through the first three quarters of the of any game, right? So if you accumulate the first three quarters of all their games, their actual margin, their winning margin, okay?
Right.
How many points they've scored versus those, how many they've given up. They're the second best team in the league, and in the fourth quarter, they're the L.A. Clippers of old.
They are the L.A. Clippers of old. I feel really bad. I want to see because Dan knows I'm not a Chargers fan. I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan. I don't know why, but I am. Dak Prescott's been doing an unbelievable job, but I feel really bad for Phillip Rivers and his family and all the Charger players because they're all really, really, bound our community here in San Diego, and they really treat our community really, really well, and they deserve a win. And I think that maybe today they'll get it.
But bringing it back to the stadium conversation, how it affects our local economy and what we could see and expect happening in San Diego County, and particularly that downtown East Village area, should that stadium be voted through, with which both Todd and I fully endorse.
100%.
And we urge you to get out to the polls in November and make sure that
passes.
You pass. Well, what are you voting for? Are you voting for football games? Are you voting for a stadium? Or are you voting for a lifestyle that anybody, regardless of who you are, my wife, she couldn't care less about a football game. I mean, if I can't drag her to a football game, I can't pay her to attend one. But
she would if it was super nice downtown.
Well, it's not going to be about the game. What she's going to love is she wants and understands that stadium has to go through, not because she's ever going to attend a football game, but because there are going to be endless amounts of restaurants and development, investment opportunities, and prosperity for our downtown economy and our market, which, of course, trickles out to the rest of the county. Even those of you not in
If the stadium goes,
proper,
I make a prediction.
Mm-hmm.
If the stadium goes through, gets built, your wife goes to a football game. She'll go. I believe it.
God bless you. She does.
I believe it.
But I know she'll be dining at those restaurants.
Yep.
I know that she'll be looking at investment opportunities.
Yes.
And I know we're going to be the employment that will be generated. I mean, do you realize what happened to downtown San Diego from the moment that Padres Stadium got approved? San Diego development was just propelled forward at least a decade into. I mean, have you been down there?
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. We've been down there together. We actually went there for opening day this year, so it was awesome.
I was just down there a couple weeks ago, and it's like I again didn't even recognize it. It's
downtown's constantly
amazing.
Changing. The restaurants are unbelievable. Other thing let's talk about, Dan, though, is we didn't talk about last week. Let's talk about the other big news. Garden Fresh, the parent corporation of Soup Plantation, which has been a staple here in San Diego, declared bankruptcy. Kind of, scary to think about. This has been a company that's been, in the heart of San Diego for 20 plus years, and they just declared bankruptcy. And is this a prediction of other things to come, or was it just a stale concept?
Well, here on Real Estate Exposed, we've been talking about the coming market cycle. And there are always market cycles, always have been, always will be, and we're not going to be up forever. There will be a change, and it's going to come. Good news is that it won't reflect what we saw last time. Last time was built on an entirely false and just fabricated lending environment, which, truly, if there's ever been a house of cards, that was it. The coming cycle is just a traditional market shift, a traditional adjustment like we've always had and always will. And I do question, Todd, that's a good point. Soup Plantation, an absolute staple of our local dining, casual dining environment here in San Diego County, 20 to 30 stores or restaurants, I should say,
are shutting down
to close.
That's right.
And is that one of the first local, dominoes that we're seeing locally here, leading us into the recession that surely will come someday? And look, I'm not a doomsday sayer, but if you disagree with that, then you're effectively making the argument that we'll never have a recession again, which would be a bozo thing to think.
A complete bozo thing to think.
Of course there will be a recession someday.
Yes.
The question's when, not if, and is this...
And how bad? And how bad is the next big question.
I think it's going to be very, very mild. Very mild.
I hate to bring this up, Dan, because it's a competitor of mine, and we didn't talk about this pre-game, but pre-game, what about what happened with Wells Fargo? Did you read about the Wells Fargo?
Of course. No, it's a travesty.
That just shows you what these big banks and the pressure they're putting on people. For those who don't know, Wells Fargo...
A total travesty.
...basically got fined. I think they got fined for basically their tellers putting people into fake accounts because they had minimum requirements that they had to hit on a monthly or weekly basis to put people into brand new accounts.
And basically what was happening, if I understand it correctly, is that people had savings accounts they didn't know they had, or checking accounts they didn't know they had, so they weren't funding them.
Correct.
So they weren't hitting their minimum requirements, so they were triggering, effectively they were
the $17.95 fee a month, and it was just become a revenue source for them.
They were triggering fees all over the country, just millions and millions of dollars, my understanding. So that is...
I'm just reading something that our producer Mike put up about the Chargers. So
he says Chargers are 1-2 and leading in the fourth quarter. Rest of the NFL 25-0. Wow. So no one in the NFL has blown a fourth quarter lead this year, apparently.
Yes, they have because against the Vikings, Mike, they did that a couple times. The Vikings have come back in the fourth quarter several times. And Joe McShane, who works for the Daniel Beer Group, who's the listing specialist, is very, very proud of that.
We'll have to verify that later.
We'll verify. It's verifiable. We'll get Joe on the phone if we have to.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to head off to break, but before we do, something important, okay? We've been forever, we're changing it up this week. For a long time now, we've been talking about and just encouraging you with our market positioning report that we've been talking about, but we're switching it up, and we've actually put together a new special report for you. It's the 7 costly seller mistakes that you could make and how to avoid them. This is the stuff that this really gets to nuts and bolts. If you're thinking of selling your home in the next 12 months, look, this isn't any kind of airy-fairy theory or any kind of, big high-level conceptual, just theoretical concepts for us to take in, and it's really just what are the 7 things you need to make sure you're avoiding in order to not lose a whole lot of money on your home sale. Okay, it's how to avoid 7 costly mistakes when selling your home. It's a free special report Todd and I have pulled together for you. And to get it, you visit DBG, okay, DBG, like Daniel Beer Group, reports.com. That's DB, like boy, G, reports.com. You go there, you could download it. Okay, you just go there, you'd be able to download it yourself. It's the how to avoid the 7 costly mistakes when selling your home. And we get into, mistake number 1, failing to dress your home properly for sale. And we're going to dive deep into it. I mean, this is how long is this report? We've put together an 11-page report for you. Okay, so we go deep on it. Pricing your home incorrectly. How to think about pricing. That's one of the topics covered. Now, here's one. limiting the marketing exposure of your property. Are you making that mistake? Are you limiting the marketing exposure of your property? Sometimes.
What does that mean?
It means that you're not getting a full market response, and we dive deep on that topic. Are you not getting a full market response? Or in other words, are you limiting the market exposure because of issues and technical challenges that your chosen path might pose? Okay, so we're going to dive into that topic there. We're going to talk about how some people make the mistake of thinking their appraisal is the market value of their home. That is so we're gonna jump into that.
That's a myth. That's a debunked myth that the Daniel Beer Group has I hate to say it, has blown through multiple times. I have to say the Daniel Beer Group at Keller Williams has the appraisal is not. If you got a recent appraisal a month ago, two months ago, and
appraisals have their place.
They have their place,
they have
but
nothing to do with the market value of the home.
Yes.
So we're gonna go into that. Mistake number 5, not understanding your rights and obligations. So we're going to jump in. What are your rights and obligations? Don't make the mistake of not understanding them. They can cost you a lot of money.
Are you giving all these people like a heads up of what they're going to be getting when they sign up for this report?
This is what the report has. You just go to dbgreports.com. You just download it. It's a special report we have put together for you. Here's the 6th mistake. Signing a listing agreement with no way out. Okay, if you're going to sign a listing agreement, understand that they're not all 6-month hostage agreements. There are ways you can ensure you have a way out the moment you need one. And then mistake number 7, of course, selecting your agent for the wrong reasons. And so we're going to jump into those 7 costly seller mistakes and how to avoid them when selling your home. That is the real nuts and bolts of what you need to do. You follow those, you're going to be in great shape, almost regardless of what other direction you take. Visit dbgreports.com, dbgreports.com. And coming up out of the break, we're going to be talking about rent control in San Diego County. Is it coming? Is it good? Is it bad? Some strong opinion coming at you, and you won't want to miss that because that could entirely change the investment landscape here locally. All right, so rent control in San Diego County. Does that sound scary to you? Because it sounds absolutely frightening to me. But that is what some people here locally are talking about. That's what some people in our local government are discussing. You're listening to Real Estate Exposed, Daniel Beer, Todd Pianin.
Home Street Bank. You can reach Todd, myself, at Home Street Bank, toddandtaisha.com.
Let's give you a phone number for that, actually. You have any kind of lending need whatsoever, 800-676-2420. Okay, that's 800-676-2420. You have a real estate need. It could be that you're buying or selling, or you simply have a question about a bathroom remodel, whatever it may be. 800-676-2420. You hear us talking about something on air. You think we're wrong. You want to debate it. Call in. 800-676-2420.
Or go to our if you don't feel comfortable, you want to debunk something that we're saying, or you don't agree with something we're saying, go to our Real Estate Exposed page on Facebook. You can find us at Real Estate Exposed on Facebook. Dan and Todd, we both have our own we also have our own Facebook pages as well. Dan posts a lot of videos that I highly recommend that you like the Daniel Beer Group on Facebook, because Dan does a market report basically weekly and talks about what's happening and does a video. So I strongly suggest going to Facebook, liking Real Estate Exposed, but also liking the Daniel Beer Group. And of course, we would love you to like Todd and Taisha, but Dan actually puts out really good data every week on Facebook.
But here's something I don't like, Todd. It's this conversation that's starting to pop. It's
the rent control
here in San Diego. Rent control. One of the best things about San Diego
is that
we have no rent control.
Correct.
Take us through that and explain that if you would.
So rent control basically was set up. Rent control, I can only tell you what I know about Santa Monica, right? So Santa Monica in Los Angeles became a highly, highly desirable neighborhood. But a lot of older people lived in Santa Monica. So what ended up happening was they pushed through a program called rent control where you could only increase rents, up to 1% to 3% a year on a go-forward basis to keep a lot of these older renters in the area, because it became so expensive to live in Santa Monica, because there was lots of, you could walk to great restaurants, there was shopping, you're close to the beach, all that kind of fun stuff.
So at first glance, that sounds like a positive thing. Who wants to displace the elderly? God bless them, give them their place to live, and who wants to disturb them? On the surface, that seems like a good thing. But
I think it's also in New York too. They have some rent control.
Oh yeah, they have tons of rent control in New York. They have it in San Francisco.
Right, it's
and
all over the
San
place.
Diego, a great coastal city without rent control. So on the surface, it sounds like a great thing, Todd. But really, the way I'm reading that, if you kind of get away from the emotion of it,
let me give you
market manipulation.
Let me give you a real life example. Okay,
it's not an open market.
My mom lives in Santa Monica, Dan, and she has a 3-bedroom, 2-bath apartment in in Santa Monica. She is 1 block from Montana, which is unbelievable restaurants. She's 3 blocks away from the Santa Monica Promenade, unbelievable restaurants, movie theaters, all that kind of stuff. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. She's in rent control. What do you think she pays a month?
I mean, I don't know what their typical rents there would be, but if, I'm imagining this is leading up to some kind of terribly low number. I don't know. What is she paying? $6,000?
Six. You think
she's in Santa Monica, that kind of location? I would think
it'd be like the gas. It'd be like the gas lamp district of San Diego, right? It'd be like gas lamp. She pays $1,200 a month.
Oh my God!
Do you realize that her neighbor, exact same unit, exact same upgrades, pays $6,000 a month? Because rent control got taken away in Santa Monica, but they grandfathered in all the people who had rent control.
So, look, somebody, you're listening to this right now and you're thinking, wow, that sounds great. So rent control sounds like a good thing. But here's why it's not, okay? That is not a free market. That is not, put yourself in, you have to sometimes put yourself in the other person's shoes. Now put yourself in the shoes of the person that owns this piece of property and is renting it to Todd's lovely mom.
Yes. Beautiful lady, by the way.
And so these people, if you own property right now in San Diego County, you're a property owner, you're an investor, you have rental property, the value of your rental property could literally be decimated because rental property is valued based on what they call a cap, okay? And essentially, it's a function of the rent or the income that you're bringing in less the expenses relative to what you're going to have to pay for the property. And certain neighborhoods will sell at, say, different cap rates, okay? Some are at cap rate of just 2, really low cap rates. That's something like a La Jolla, into, cap rates of 4, 6, 8. And the higher the cap rate, the better for the investor. Now, it's not good for the real estate investor. It's not good for the real estate economy. It's not good for the real estate economy. Exactly,
that's what I'm trying to say.
Even if you're not the person that owns that rent control unit, your neighbor's value is now completely capped. It's like putting a ceiling on where your real estate can go to. It's literally putting a ceiling on it. So then they can't sell for more. It prevents good sales from happening in the neighborhood, which prevents you from being able to sell at good value someday in the future. It actually steals wealth from the public.
But it also, P.S., I'll go back to my mom's story. Her neighbors get new carpet every couple of years. Her neighbors get, new dishwashers, new cabinets, new all that kind of stuff. They don't have to upgrade anything in my mom's apartment. So the whole goal is to try to get her out of the apartment by keeping the old carpet in, keep the dishwasher that doesn't work unless she wants to pay for it herself. She can paint the place herself.
My God,
so it also hurts the rent control person because you can actually have them almost living in squalor while next door the house, the same exact apartment has been brand new carpeting, hardwood floors. It's just, it's bad all the way around.
It's a terrible thing. It literally is stealing wealth from the economy. If the open market wants to pay X amount for that unit,
right,
they should be able to do so. And to have our government, okay, if you're for big government, you love rent control. You love it. But if you're not for big, massive, bureaucratic, invasive government, then rent control is something we, as San Diegans, anywhere in San Diego County, whether you're in the city of San Diego and you have a city of San Diego vote, or you're in the county, you still all have influence. We collectively have to watch for this and make sure it does not become part of our makeup here locally. You're listening to Real Estate Exposed, News Radio 600 KOGO, Daniel Beer, Todd Pianin, and phone number to give us a shout is 800-676-2420. We'll remind you that the free special report that we have spent time on, this is an 11-page report, the 7 costly mistakes sellers make and how to avoid them. That's your free download just simply by going to dbgreports.com. That's dbgreports.com. We'll be back with you This is Real Estate Exposed. Daniel Beer and Todd Pianin. Welcome back to Real Estate Exposed on News Radio 600 KOGO. Keeping you up to date on everything that matters, buying, selling, finance related, here locally, and also at times from a more global perspective, so we always understand and have an edge what is happening. And rates have jumped, taken a little bit of a jump here over the last number of days. And Todd Pianin, our co-host, Home Street Bank, here in studio as always, and the guy that I always trust my mortgage advice to. So, Todd, what is going on in the world of rates right now?
They're ticking up, Dan.
Why? What is going on?
Well, I think there's a lot of unrest with what's happening with China. We talked about what was going on with the yuan last week, but I think that there's more uncertainty surrounding the election, which is causing the bond market to get a little overly fluctuated. Big numbers, came out this week on retail sales, so that obviously has something to do with what's going on. But, I also think it's a manipulative curve, meaning that we're going to see things go up, we're going to see things go down. But I also see that they're trying to make the 10-year note more attractive for people to buy. So we're seeing, we saw a big jump. I mean, went from 1.59 on last week, I think, to Wednesday of last week, we were at 1.72 on the yield on the 10-year. So it's a pretty significant jump. I mean, you're seeing rates go up by eighth, quarter, 3/8. In some cases, the jumbo market also, is being highly affected by this, which is also probably you're seeing it slow down. Probably a bigger slowdown in the higher priced homes too because of that.
Look, you may have a very personal question regarding rates or mortgage or refinance. And if you need to connect with Todd directly, the phone number is 800-676-2420. Okay, I'm going to repeat that one more time and jump back into more questions here with Todd Pianin. 800-676-2420. Todd, curious, my personal curiosity here. After the debates,
yes,
did we see any kind of movement in the mortgage markets, the rate markets, from the debate?
No. The debate had nothing to do with it because, like we talked about last week, Dan, they've already priced it a Hillary win, and she won the debate, and so really didn't affect what was going on. It was more along the lines of what's happening in the world markets because we become such a world economy. We're seeing also a slowdown. I don't know if you read that piece of news. We're seeing a slowdown in oil production. OPEC is slowing down oil production, so all signs on my end are pointing towards recession. Now, your next comment would be to me, well, recession usually means lower interest rates. Well, right now, we're in this sort of weird flux for the next 30 some odd days until the election is over, till we have a president. If we can get a president, if we have a president at the end of that.
I just got goosebumps hearing you say 30 days. I mean, and it's a little more than 30 days, but it still got...
No, it's less than 30 days.
It?
Yes.
Oh, my God. You're even more goosebumps because that's coming up fast.
It's really fast.
Fast, right? It was like gradually, and then suddenly.
Really fast. I have to say that I thought Pence did... I mean, I know we don't like talk politics, but Pence did a great job on the debates this last week.
So, the conversation around rates...
Yes.
Most people are concerned with rates because that reflects costs they incur.
Correct.
But there are other costs that are often ignored or kind of overlooked. But they're very, very real costs, and those are your closing costs.
Yeah, it's amazing to me, Dan, that we see a lot of real estate agents who put people in homes or buy homes or sell homes, and they never bring up the discussion of closing costs. Closing costs are always there when you buy a home or you sell a home, and depending upon which side of the fence you're on, you're going to have closing costs. Let's talk about if you're a buyer and you're buying a home. What we typically tell a buyer as a rule of thumb, plan on between 1 to 1.5% of the purchase price is going to be your closing costs. Doesn't mean your lender is overcharging you. Doesn't mean that they're charging you points or fees, but you're going to have what's called reoccurring closing costs and non-reoccurring closing costs. Reoccurring closing costs are things that happen over and over again, i.e. property taxes, prepaid interest, homeowners dues, Mello-Roos, that kind of stuff. Non-reoccurring closing costs are things that happen one time. You're going to have escrow fees. You're going to have title fees. You're going to have transfer tax fees. You're going to have some lenders fees, appraisal fees, that kind of stuff. So we always tell our buyers, because a lot of real estate agents, your team doesn't do this, but most other teams will not discuss closing costs. It's the weirdest thing in the world. They think they're just going to put down their 10%, their 5%, and then all of a sudden that's all the money they need. That is, it's such a
it's real cash. It needs to make its way to the table.
Exactly. It's a cost of buying a home, and people are not prepared for it. And a lot of realtors don't like to discuss it because that discourages people from looking at certain homes. If you're working with an unbelievable team like the buyers team over at the Daniel Beer Group, and Brian Danny in particular, he sits down with you, does a 45-minute consultation, and he brings up these closing costs because he doesn't like chaos. He doesn't like things hidden. And I think your other buyer specialists do the same exact thing.
It's a key in just having a smooth transaction. But what I appreciate about Home Street Bank and you, Todd Pian, and Taisha Lindsay, you're going to bring it up knowing that most agents will forget to bring it up.
Correct.
Okay? So closing costs...
But you can get credits from the seller to cover that too.
And that's yes, you can theoretically, but that's actually what I wanted to bring up. Is some people, when they do that, they forget that what the seller's going to look at is the net value of the offer.
Right.
So you have to understand that if you're building closing costs into your offer, meaning let's say you're making an offer for $400,000. And you're asking for the seller to pay all your closing costs up to $8,000,
or $6,000,
or up to $6,000. Let's say for this example, just understand that your offer is not $400,000. Okay, the way the seller will read that offer is that offer is a $394,000 offer.
It's not truly though, Dan, because the seller has closing costs too. So
yes, of course, but apples to apples versus another offer.
Correct.
Your offer is the number minus the $6,000 you're asking them to pay.
Correct.
So understand that, and I think a lot of agents. I mean, look, this seems elementary, but a lot of buyers or their agents seem not to understand that the seller will not view that offer as a $400,000 offer. In fact, when I'm presented that offer and I call my seller to give him that, to present the offer, or when Joe, our listing specialist, when he does that. We're not calling our client and saying, hey, you have a $400,000 offer. We actually will call and say, hey, here, want to present an offer to you. It came in at $394.
Right.
We'll just subtract that, right? Because that is
the true number. That's a true number.
That might be okay if that property's been on the market for 60, 90 days.
Right.
But that property is like one of ours on the market, in the midst of a 5-day blitz, massive push of buyers,
multiple offers.
Yeah.
It's not going to.
You have to be careful with what you're doing.
Right.
The way to do it, and I do understand why a buyer would want this, right? Because think about it. If you build the closing costs into your loan,
you get to write it off.
You essentially get to finance them.
Right.
So. If your intention is not to come out of pocket with the $6K, I get it.
Right.
The seller gets it, or at least they should get it if they have an agent that'll explain it to them properly. But the way to actually do that and make your offer competitive is you actually want to offer $406,000. $406 with the 6 back. Now that represents a $400,000 offer, and in this hypothetical example with multiple offers and all kinds of activity, then you might now have a shot at actually getting the property, and you won't have to come out of pocket $6K, but rather they'll be financed right into your loan. If that is a huge mouthful and you got lost in that a little bit, I get it. That's why you just give us a phone call. We'll hash it out for your particular unique example. Phone number for us is 800-676-2420, and you're listening to Daniel Beer and Todd Pian. And let me tell you a little bit about what that means, too. What's the experience behind the advice you're receiving? Okay, Daniel Beer Group, we have literally the #1 producing team by both sales volume and transactions count for all of Keller Williams in San Diego County, and we're talking about the biggest brokerage in the world.
Like you should have some like sound effect for that when he talks about that.
So that's, and look, I'm not saying that to be braggadocious, but rather you're getting advice and you're getting real estate advice everywhere you turn.
Right.
It's actually a beautiful thing about being in the real estate business is you're at a restaurant. What are people talking about around you? They're talking about real estate and relationships.
Right.
That's it. It's either what my girlfriend did to me, what my boyfriend did, what my husband or wife did, or real estate. Those are the things people talk about. And so you're getting real estate advice from just about everywhere. Understand that the advice you're getting here is coming from the head of a team that's going to do over $150 million in sales, is recognized by the Wall Street Journal, and is Keller Williams' #1 agent here in all of San Diego County. So just that is the way to approach it. And Todd Pian in Home Street Bank, the guy that's giving you mortgage, input and information, market advice on a weekly basis here every Sunday morning. This is a guy at Home Street Bank that's funded over $1 billion in loans.
And currently, Dan, out of all 9 states, out of all 600 loan officers at Home Street Bank, Tyson and I are number 33 in the bank of funded loans year to date. So, talking about 9 different states that Home Street Bank is in, and, I don't want to be braggadocious either, but we are number 33 in the bank out of over 600 loan officers, which is I think, a pretty awesome thing. So,
very, very cool. You're listening to Real Estate Exposed here with Daniel Beer and Todd Pian. And so, listen, before we get to break, Todd and I have spent time here. We have an 11-page special report that we've put together for you. It's how to avoid 7 costly seller mistakes when selling your home. And again, just to run through these topics very, very quickly for you, it's dressing your home for sale. Don't make the mistake of doing that improperly. We're going to cover pricing. We're going to cover market exposure, appraisal, and what it really means and what it really doesn't mean. And there's massive just misconception around that topic. What are your rights and obligations as a seller? That is critical for you to be aware of because most agents won't make you aware of. Okay? Be aware also. We're gonna talk about listing agreements, how long they should be, shouldn't be, and how to always ensure you have a way out. That's critical. You need a way out should you have to use it. And then the process of agent selection. All that in this free special report. You just go to dbgreports.com. DBG, like Daniel Beer Group. That's dbgreports.com. Coming up next here out of the break, we're going to be discussing more that affects you here locally as we give you an edge on home buying and selling. Inventory numbers in San Diego County, we'll cover them. And for those of you that think every home flies off the market right now in this environment, you'd be wrong. You'll be shocked at how many homes just in the last 30 days have failed to sell. Hey, we're back with you for the final segment of Real Estate Exposed. Another Sunday morning with another Charger kickoff on the way. You're listening to Daniel Beer of Keller Williams and Todd Pianin of Home Street Bank. And every Sunday we bring you the latest in getting an edge on buying, selling, and financing your real estate needs. Give us a shout. You might have a real estate need. Could be literally just, might be buying, might be selling. You might just have a question on a bathroom remodel, a kitchen fix-up, or anything else related to that. Call us, 800-676-2420. You also might have a mortgage question. You might be in a purchase, know someone who is. You might be wanting to refinance and know today's rates, especially before they continue to tick
up.
And they did a little bit this past week, but they're still awesome. So if you want to talk to Todd Pianin about your personal finance situation, your loan, your mortgage, number's 800-676-2420. And here's something that's been bugging me. People, there seems to be an air in the market that people believe everything and anything sells like in a heartbeat. And it's just not true. It's not founded in fact. It's not reflective of what we actually see when we study homes that are currently on the market and those that have recently gone unsold.
Wait. I drive around my neighborhood. I see signs up all the time for homes that sell. And then magically, 30 days later, 60 days later, the signs have come down. Are you telling me all those homes haven't sold? Not
every time you see a home, right? So that's actually a great point. And I wasn't even thinking of that. But from your perspective, okay, you listening here, from your perspective, you see signs go up in your neighborhood, then you see them come down. Those homes didn't all necessarily sell. In fact, let me give you some
I don't believe it, Dan. Give me stats. Prove to me your point.
Literally pulled from MLS directly just in the last 24 hours. 6,442 homes available in the marketplace.
How many months of inventory is that, Dan?
6,442 homes available in the marketplace. Okay, and now to be very specific, that's attached condos, townhomes, and detached single-family homes. 6,442.
Would that include like 1 to 4 units? Like if I was trying
No,
to...
it doesn't even include those. Doesn't include vacant land. So there's actually more inventory than that.
Got it.
Okay, but 6,442 properties on the market available for you. Here's the kicker. Just in the last 30 days, we've seen 1,083 homes go off the market unsold, as expired or canceled. Okay, 1,083 homes have failed to sell just in the last 30 days, and they've literally just come off the market. To illustrate that, what does that mean relative to the 6,442 that are on? 16%, okay, almost 17% of homes have literally gone just unsold, failed to sell, couldn't get done. And there was a variety of reasons for that. It's not just the agent. It's not just the seller. It's not just the property, but it's something. It might have been the presentation. It might have been the pricing strategy.
Pictures?
Could have been, absolutely. That ties right back to presentation. There's a reason why. And so Todd and I pulled together a report that has the reason. The reason why is found in one of the seven costly seller mistakes and how to avoid them. That's a special report that we've put together for you. All you do is visit dbgreports.com and you just get your free download. dbgreports.com. Give it one last time here. DBG, like Daniel Beer Group. dbgreports.com. Get your free report. It's how to avoid 7 costly mistakes when selling your home. Now, Todd Pianin, myself, we're going to be bringing the home selling workshops back to you very shortly. So listen, because we'll probably have an announcement for you next week. We anticipate one coming in November, and you won't want to miss your invitation to that. We'll give you early bird access as always. And on behalf of myself, the entire Daniel Beer Group, I am just very, very happy, thankful to spend another Sunday morning with you. Go Chargers. And God bless you. I'm going to turn the mic over to Todd. Have an awesome, awesome Sunday.
Go Chargers, go Cowboys. This is Todd Pianin from Home Street Bank, a member of the FDIC, equal housing lender, NMLS ID number 304014. Have a wonderful Sunday, and we'll see you back next week. Find us on Facebook, Real Estate Exposed, or iTunes. Talk to you soon.